of ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday, September 23rd edition of the program. We're already 2 days out from East Carolina taking on the Army Black Knights, and the Pirates conference opener will tell you why this game is the most important swing game of ECU season. A win could go a long way. A loss could create some issues. We'll dive into that. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. You got a question, comment, concern, drop it in the chat. We'll get to it over the course of the next hour. You can always catch any of our shows archived on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify and through the IBX Media app. Philip Pilkington is producing today's program. By the way, we also had basketball practice this morning, and it's almost hard to, I don't know, it's hard to like get into basketball mode in such the middle of football season, but we may touch on hoops as well. But we talked with Mike Schwartz, ECU basketball coach, this morning. Got to watch some basketball practice as well. So, Philip, nice little detour, and maybe we can get more into basketball with the open date next week. Also, we will shift into MLB playoffs mode, NFL as well, a little bit more with ECU having an open date. But a lot to get through here. There's just a lot going on in a short amount of time. I feel like once we get to Friday, maybe we can breathe a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of stuff going on, like here at the station, like you mentioned with sports. I don't know, man. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. I haven't even talked to Coach Logan about our show yet for tomorrow. That's how busy we've been. But, hey, it's never too early for college basketball, baby, and that might be the Western North Carolinian coming out in me where, you know, we live, breathe, and die college basketball up and down I-85, but it's never too early to think about college basketball, in my opinion. I've already been in the last couple of weeks, like, looking up which of the big MTEs I'm most excited for, first-round matchups that I'm looking forward to in places like Maui and the Bahamas. And, man, I'm pumped up and ready to go. I was hanging out with Cole Barnhill last night, the women's basketball sports information director, and he was talking about how excited he is to go to Puerto Rico with the women's team this year. And, man, it's just I'm excited. And I'm not trying to wish away college football season, but I do love some college hoops, baby.
Philip, already getting into that basketball mode. I'm hearing good things about Corey Calker, the JUCO transfer point guard. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to basketball season. But if he is a hit, that could really kind of change the outlook of ECU's upcoming season. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more. But we'll open with football discussion. And just we will, by the way, we'll talk to Sal Interdonato, who covers Army from Black Knight Nation. We'll talk to him our next segment to really figure out more about the Black Knights. But this game, it feels so crucial to ECU season because if you find a way to win this game, you know, obviously the Tulane game, you have a bye week and you'll get ready for that one. Like, you almost, I don't want to say you can go in with house money because you still want to win the game and you want to get to 2-0 in conference. But if you win this game, the Tulane game, all of a sudden, you're probably going to be a dog. You're going on the road on Thursday night. We know that's going to be a tough game. If you win this game, it kind of sets you up for, all right, even if you lose that game, you still have a shot at the conference championship. Because I look at the back half of the schedule, and I feel like ECU has a legitimate chance to win every game. And you get Tulsa at home, coming out of another bye, Charlotte at Temple, Memphis at home. UTSA does not look as good as we thought, although it'll be a tough game. And then you got at FAU, which has got off to a pretty poor start as well. So, like, these first two conference games, Philip, but specifically this one right here, you're a favorite. You're facing the defending conference champions. You're starting against the two teams that were in the championship last year. And Army is going to come in with desperation as well. They're 0-1 in conference. They cannot afford to go to 0-2. They seem to be getting better. So I just feel like this game really could swing things in a pretty massive way for the Pirates this season.
I think it could, and you know, I'm not saying you're definitely going to lose at Tulane, but if you do lose this one and then you lose at Tulane, you look up and all of a sudden you're 4-2, and I can tell you this is not a 4-2 football, 2-4, excuse me, yeah, and this is not a 2-4 football team. They're not even a 2-3 football team. This is definitely above 500 football team. I think we've seen that through 4 games. If you take out really the first quarter of the first game, and you take out the mistakes of the last 4 quarters. But, yeah, I think it is a swing game because, look, football's mental, and sports in general are mental. And I think if you do drop this one and you end up falling to Tulane, you feel like you're in a free fall. I don't think you are because these are probably your two toughest conference games. I don't know if they're the two toughest conference teams you will see, but it's just Army, short week, coming off a very physical game against BYU. So that's in a tough spot. And then Tulane's the best team on the schedule rest of the way. I mean, let's just not sugarcoat it. They are what they are. So I'm with you, Stephen. I think this is a big swing game, and it's a game that we look back on at the end of the season, and depending on how it goes, could portray us forward or backward. And I have plenty of examples in my head that I will not bore people with, though, where one play defined a game early in a season for a team, and it seemed like it sent them into a free fall, or it portrayed them forward. And this feels like it's that game.
I hate that it is a short week because I know, as we talked about yesterday, ECU's kind of taking the mindset of, all right, Army's got to play ECU on short rest. Well, they did kind of face a similar scheme against North Texas. Now, I will say it's great. I was talking about this with Bobby, and he made a great point. Bobby Harward, who joins us every Friday. North Texas runs a very similar scheme to ECU, and ECU is going to be able to look at that scheme and pull some things off of it, but also Army can have some teach tape. The other thing, though, to think about is if you're Army, you can only make so many adjustments in a short amount of time. Short week, you got to keep things simple. Otherwise, you're going to bust some stuff. You just don't have enough time to go out there and practice it. For ECU, it's obviously the same going against the option. So it's just a completely different animal. It's hard to figure out exactly. We don't really know how ECU is going to approach the option. As Thick Poppy's in the comments saying, please stop the option. And I think the other thing about it is, too, ECU's offense has not played well against the service academies. Cameron brings up in the comments, how much would a win against Army mean for the program? We haven't beaten a service academy at home since 2004. I feel like this is a really big deal game. And that kind of goes with it, too. It's like the mental side of it as well, Phillip. Like, not only for this season, because obviously ECU does not play another service academy unless it were to somehow square off with one in the conference championship. But I think the fans need to see a win over an option team. I don't care how ugly it is. I just remember the elation when ECU beat Navy in 2021. Like, the game really didn't mean all that much. ECU already had bowl eligibility. It was just an extra win, going into that Cincinnati game, the final game of the year. But I remember it was almost like ECU won a bowl game because they beat Navy, because fans were that used to just going up there and getting their tails handed to them by an option team.
Yeah, I think they're definitely, for the fan base, would be huge. For the program as a whole, big, but maybe not as big as it is for the fans. I think just due to the turnover of rosters in college football these days. Also, last year, now there are a lot of guys from last year's team, and they did lose to 2 service academies last year, so that does have something to do with it, of course. But I think at the end of the day right now, you made every mistake in the book against BYU, and you just need a win going into conference play. I think that's what it's going to do for the team more so than the service academy win or the triple option win. But I think for us as fans moving forward with East Carolina, yes, we do kind of need the win over the triple option team, the win over a service academy, and you don't even see Rice this year. They've gone to that, so we now have 3 triple option teams here in the conference. So it could be a bulk of the conference schedule next year. Who knows? We might play all 3 teams. We might not play any of them. We have no idea. We may never play South Florida again.
It is a good year, though, to miss South Florida, Navy, and North Texas. And that kind of, we'll get more into this. It is a bad year to miss UAB. Every year is a bad year to miss UAB with Trent Dilfer. East Carolina apparently going to miss the whole Trent Dilfer era. We'll get more to the American in our third segment. We'll look at that. But I just think with the way the conference schedule sets up for ECU, you'll have a chance to beat Tulane and Memphis head-to-head. And I think if you win this one and you split those, you could be in the conference championship mix. And obviously if you sweep them, you definitely are. Some more comments here as we head into this critical Thursday night game. Corsair says, hope we can play Army without penalties, mistakes, and poor decisions. Lane Smith saying us being favored this week is freaking me out. He also adds, I'm tired of this program not winning when it matters. It's starting to really feel like the end of ECU being relevant. Lane, we've had this discussion a lot over the years. ECU, look, when they beat NC State in the bowl last year, none of that talk was present because the Pirates just won a big game on the national stage. Obviously, they've lost to the two Power 4 programs that they have played this year. I think if you go out and win Thursday night again on a national stage, I think people feel a lot better. So it's a very week-to-week football. Football is just you live and die with every game result, man. If you win, you feel like you're on top of the world. If you lose, it's the end of life.
You know, the interesting thing is, in part of our going back to our discussion yesterday about, hey, there's not really a winning culture here. That's why fans don't stay. And I said, well, Blake Harrell's only ever lost 3 football games as head coach East Carolina. So there's a winning culture of Blake Harrell. Well, who's the only non-Power 4 team he's lost to? The one triple option service
Navy.
academy. Yes, it's not Army, but it's Navy. So this would be a chance to right some wrongs, I feel like, just a little bit. Because, that was up until all the mistake-driven game we played last week. Could you argue that was probably the worst game at the time we'd probably played under Blake? Those are the only 2 games I really feel like under Blake Harrell that we haven't played to our standard.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the Army game, an interesting chess match for Blake because he was on staff at Kennesaw State with their safeties coach at Army now and their offensive coordinator. So they know each other really well. I'm interested to see how that dynamic plays out for the second year in a row. All right, Chuck says, I believe we beat Army. I actually believe Tulane is the key game. We lose to Tulane 3-3. We win 4-2 in a 9-1 season. Well, Chuck, I would love for you to be right. I just want to see ECU get past Army, and then that would set up a critical game in New Orleans on that Thursday night. Of course, they're adding Temple and Tulsa don't look all that bad to me. They definitely are better than I expected. Still think those are games ECU should win if they play to their potential. But obviously any trip to Philly and empty Lincoln Financial Field is tricky. Of course, they're asking, when is Mike Wright going to get into the game and make a difference? And we talked about that a little bit yesterday. I just think it's a situation where I really felt like ECU going into BYU had something to utilize with Mike Wright, but then, look back at it, that drive, Caton threw the pick, they were rolling. The offense was rolling, and then you made a bad decision, and then all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball the rest of the game. So I feel like it just wasn't the right time, and I still think it's coming. I don't know if this is the week. I was thinking about it today in the VIP chat. Somebody asked me about this as well, Philip, but it's tough to just implement a different package in a short week unless you've been working it and unless you feel really confident about it. Because the time at practice right now, I know they feel extremely rushed. So you just can't get out there and mess around and be like, are we gonna rep the Mike Wright package this week? Unless you're 100% certain you're going to use it, you don't want to waste that practice time. You just don't have the time this week.
You're right. However, and I'm 100% on your side here. The one thing that I will kind of just lead people to hear about, I guess, Coach Logan's kind of spoke on this last week, not about Mike Wright specific, but he spoke on the difference in installing offense in college football as opposed to pro football. And in the NFL, you've got 14, 16 hours a day with your athletes. In college, you don't have that. He said that there is very few times that you implement any sort of scheme during the season. If you haven't installed it by the time the season began, the likelihood of it ever being installed is very, very slim. So my devil's advocate point and hope here is this has been installed. It has been repped. And again, I think it's one of those things where the state game was, you were just trying to get going offensively. Campbell, you didn't need to show anything on tape. Coastal, yeah, the start wasn't as good as it needed to be, but at the end of the day, you're up 38. You won 38-0. This past week, again, we've kind of talked about it. It's hard when you're struggling and you're behind the sticks because you're committing vault starts to put in kind of a special package. So what I'm hoping is we're going to play normal football game, a back-and-forth game that will kind of be how the rest of the season is against a conference opponent where you're ready to go ahead and put stuff on tape. And this will be the game. And I'm not saying it's – my point is I think it's already been implemented and I think it'll be used. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and I think they feel comfortable using it. Or they will never use it if they don't.
Yeah, if they don't use it in the next 2 weeks, I don't know when they're going to use it. I mean, this offense is built for horizontal and vertical attacking. And when you get in the red zone, that's really not an area it excels in. So how do you combat that? Well, you use, if you possible, you use a running quarterback. So I feel like at some point ECU's got to utilize that if they can't just line up and run the ball, which has obviously been a challenge at times. All right, let's get a break in. We will break and we'll talk with Sal Interdonato from Army and get the Army perspective on the other side. We'll come back. We got more questions in the chat. We'll get to somebody wants us to grade the coordinators through 4 games, so maybe we can do that on the latter half of the program. But we'll get a break in. Sal Interdonato from the Army perspective will be on our show after this.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Oh, hey, welcome back. You got here just in time. This is Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in Hoist the Colors, Tuesday, September 23rd edition of the program. We're already 2 days out from ECU Army. Man, what a quick turnaround for both teams. Let's get a look at the Army perspective now. We've got Sal Interdonato back on the show from Black Knight Nation. And Sal, we've been having trouble, kind of finding the words to put in to Army start this year. Obviously, 1-2, crazy loss to Tarleton State. They beat Kansas State on the road and then a insane game against North Texas. How would you kind of sum up the first 3 games for Army thus far?
Yeah, pretty inconsistent, right? I mean, they had a chance to beat in their opener. They have a chance to win. They just can't do it in overtime. They play a great game at Kansas State, and then they come back home. They get down by 21 twice, and they fight hard to get back, have a chance to win, and then they just can't. They just don't have enough. They just just can't make a play. And I think it's this inconsistency. They're really good. When they're really good, they're really hard to stop. When they're when there's some fumbles, when there's turnovers, and when there's some defensive lapses, they got to fight. They got to play perfect football. They got to play perfect football to win these games. So if they don't, then the overtime losses happen.
Yeah, I was watching the highlights of the North Texas game, Sal, and 2 fumbles, a pick, I think all in the first half. And that's just, it feels so unlike Army, at least the Army of recent years. And, obviously that led to a quarterback change, but it feels like, and ECU made some critical errors too in this game against BYU. It almost feels like whatever team can fix it and play complementary football in short order should win Thursday night. I don't know. How much does Jeff Monken want to see those things, ironed out quickly?
Yeah, I mean, it's a short week, so they don't really have a lot of time to work on that stuff, but they've been focused on getting the ball security issues fixed right after their opener. Against Tarleton State, and so when Coach Monken sees they had no turnovers on 82 plays against Kansas State, but when he sees 3 turnovers within 13 plays in the first half, I was surprised that they didn't go to Dwayne Coleman after the second fumble, because I thought that how much can you take, how much can you fall behind? So their game is ball security, their game is time of possession on offense, and their game is being opportunistic on defense. So I mean, if those 3 things come together against East Carolina, we'll get a good game. I anticipate a game down to the wire, probably, just like these last 2 have been at home for them.
Sal Interdonato with us from Black Knight Nation, and let's talk about those quarterbacks. And we discussed it in the preseason. Obviously, losing Bryson Daly was a blow, but 2 guys that have been in the program. How have Dwayne Coleman and Kel Helms been? Any idea who will play on Thursday, or could we see both again?
Yeah, I think no idea who's going to play. If it was me, I'd probably start Dwayne Coleman. Certainly after the finish he gave Army against North Texas, I think Kel Helms played very well against Kansas State and he looked almost like Bryson Daly Jr. To be honest, Bryson Daly 2.0, the way he was running the ball really hard. It'll depend on game plan too. If Army wants to go with kind of a smash mouth game and try to use the clock, maybe Helms is their guy. But I think Coleman gives them a better chance of the bigger plays down the field, especially in the passing game. And I think that we'll see. I would go with the hot hand. I think you go with the hot hand right now. Cody Worley, the offensive coordinator, says he doesn't want to play musical quarterbacks. So as long as the person who starts can stay healthy, they'll probably play the whole game. I'm leaning toward Coleman. We'll see what happens on Thursday night.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how are those guys different, when they're operating the offense? And I was going to make that same point on Helms. Like, he almost looks like a young Bryson Day, like pretty huge physical specimen at quarterback. Is Coleman just kind of the better passer at this point?
Well, Helms is not as built. Bryson Daly was about 220 pounds. Kel Helms is not 220 pounds, but he's a hard-nosed kid. He really knows the offense. He was a winner in high school. He just has that. They have a lot of confidence that he's not going to make the mistakes. It's uncharacteristic, those 3 mistakes against North Texas. So you go here, and also with Dwayne Coleman. With Dwayne Coleman, he's more of a Helms is going to run inside the tackles. Coleman's going to maybe try to get outside a little bit more. And, I think that Coleman, like I said, provides a little bit more downfield passing than Helms does.
Sal Interdonato is with us. We're talking Army football. Black Knights are at ECU, 7:30 Thursday night. And I recognize Noah Short, been a really good player at Army for a long time. BDCU on a couple big plays last year. He's back. What other weapons? And then also this offensive line that won the Joe Moore Award last year. They got a few pieces back. How have they been early this season?
Yeah, well, Noah Short, they want to get the ball to him as much as they can against North Texas. He didn't get the ball. I think he got the ball less than 10 times, like 9 or 10 times, and that's not enough if Army wants to be successful because he's kind of a game break for them. Hayden Reed had a 100-yard rushing game. Hayden Reed was banged up against Kansas State, was still banged up against North Texas, and really played through some injuries, and he's kind of their feature fullback, so to speak. They found a wide receiver in Brady Anderson. He's a sophomore. They had some injuries to Liam Fortner and Toby Alawale at the beginning of the season, more experienced receivers. And Brady Anderson stepped up. He caught a 4th-down touchdown pass at Kansas State. He caught a 68-yard touchdown pass against North Texas that got Army back into the game. So those are the guys that you're really looking for. They're a little thinner now at fullback with Jake Rendina out with injury. But Briggs Bartosh stepped up, a sophomore who they were really high on, had a 75-yard touchdown run to get Army on the board against North Texas. Will he get more carries against East Carolina? We'll see how they scheme for the Pirates.
Defensively, Army always solid on that side of the ball. They play fundamental football. And how have they been through 3 games? Looks like some ups and downs, but I know that their defensive coordinator always does a heck of a job.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little inconsistent. They tackled really well against Kansas State. Coach Munkin said they only missed 3 tackles the whole game against Kansas State. Now, they were only on the field for about 42 plays. When you're on the field for 80, 90 plays against North Texas, and the tackling was the opposite. The tackling was not very good. The point of attack, North Texas was able to get, their running backs were able to get to the second level untouched pretty much. There were a couple touchdowns where you or me could have probably walked into the end zone against Army last Saturday. So they got to tighten up. They got to get better play from their nose tackle. Cody Harris-Miller's been out the last 2 games with an injury. I'm not certain he's going to be back for the Black Knights, so that falls on Jacob Tuioti and Matt Gemma inside to take up double teams and let Caleb Fortner and Andon Thomas make some plays. If they can do that, Army will be successful. But they also have to get pressure on the quarterback. They didn't really get a lot of pressure on North Texas quarterback. They got to find a way to pressure Hauser on Thursday, and if they can do that, maybe make him a little uncomfortable. If they don't get pressure, it could be a long day for Army's defense.
This game, Sal, is kind of fascinating, at least from the short rest perspective, because Army gets the disadvantage of going on the road, which is a challenge on a short week. ECU kind of has the disadvantage of you have to face an option team on short rest. Like, it's hard to get ready for that in a full week. And I don't know, can Army at least use some of the North Texas film? It is a similar offensive scheme, although not exactly the same. Like, could that be a potential advantage going into Thursday? Have they talked about that at all?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I mean, yes, there's similar type of offenses. They want to play faster, right? And Army's defense you're going to see a lot of that in the American, right? I mean, yeah, you have your triple options with Army, Navy, and now Rice, but a lot of the other teams want to play faster on offense. So Army should have been used to that last year. A lot of the guys are back on defense. So I think it's just a matter that they're going to say, that North Texas is in the past. They're focusing on East Carolina. They want to get better on the fundamentals, on their keys on defense. They want to play a little bit more together on defense than they did against North Texas, especially in the first half. And if they do that, then they'll be happy with the results.
We've talked early on this show from the ECU side, Sal, about how this is a key swing game for the Pirates. Conference opener. Obviously, Army already 0-1 in the league after going unbeaten last year. How critical does this game feel for them? Because, if you go on the road, you steal this one, you've got 2 winnable games against UAB and Charlotte before a test at Tulane and then at Air Force. So, is this a swing game from the Army side too?
100%. They need this game in the worst way. You looked at the first 2 games, and the first 2 games went by. You say, okay, kind of figured they would be 1-1, but didn't think the results that they got, losing to an FCS team at home and then responding on the road, at a Big 12 team, Kansas. I think that they will respond in this game. I think it'll be a tight game, and they're just going to have to find plays. They're going to have to find winning plays in the fourth quarter. And they cannot get behind. They can't let East Carolina's offense, put up points. They can't give any points away off turnovers. They really need this game. They know. When Jeff Monken, you saw Jeff Monken's reaction after Kansas State game and how emotional he is and what that win meant to him, not only because they beat a Power 4 team, but because they needed the victory. They need this victory. They need to get to 500. Like you said, the schedule with UAB and Charlotte next, 2 winnable games, and that gives you some momentum heading into Tulane. And Air Force down the road. So I think this is a game they must have.
critical game for East Carolina and Army, 7:30 with the kickoff time. All right, I got to ask you one more thing, Sal. Sal Interdonato with us from Black Knight Nation. I see in your Twitter bio you are a Mariners fan. I am also a diehard Mariners fan. So this can be just for me and you. How about our guys closing on the AL West title? Have you enjoyed this run?
It felt so good, man. You forget that they haven't won a division title since 2001. That team that won 116 games, right? And then, like, the last 2 years we've been through a lot as Mariner fans. The season going to the end and a game short, and now this year being able to sweep, Houston on the road, and the season that Cal Raleigh's having, the ways they're winning games, the Victor Robles diving catch on Saturday for the double play, just beating Hunter Brown on Friday night, and then the Sunday night game in front of a national TV audience, and then having J.P. Crawford hit a grand slam. A little bit of everybody's doing something. It's good to hear another Mariners fan. You know what? If we can win the division and get that 2 seed, I wanted to see the Mariners in the summer. I was going to see them either at Citi Field or maybe Citizens Bank, living in New Jersey. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to save my money for the postseason. I'm going to hope the Mariners, maybe if they play the Yankees in the playoffs, fine. But I was saving my money for the World Series, maybe against the Phillies if it's local and I can drive to it. So that's the goal there, Steve. And I hope it's true, because this franchise, being a Mariners fan, there's a lot of heartbreak. There's a lot of talented players over the years, and certainly we have a bunch of them now, and it's time for them. It's been time, and now to see them sweep the Astros and have that 3-game lead. Let's go next 6 games. Let's win the division. Let's get to the World Series, and let's bring a championship home to Seattle.
There you go, Sourrington. We will try to make it happen for our Mariners. I'm glad we could at least connect on that. That's awesome, man. We'll see how Army ECU plays out Thursday as well. All right, Sal, I appreciate the time, man, on the program, and we'll get you on, I'm sure, down the line. But I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
That is Sal Interdonato from BlackKnightNation.com. Check out his work covering Army on that website. All right, we'll get a break in. We've got other comments in the chat we need to get to, which we'll do that on the other side. We also got to take a look around the American. We know this game is an important game. What other conference matchups will be worth watching this weekend? That and more. This is Hoist the Colors.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm.
Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're number one in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Remember, get the podcast of the show on the IBX Media app or where you get your podcasts.
Got it. You don't have to tell me twice. I remember it exactly.
Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Tuesday, September 23rd. Pirates, Black Knights, 2 days away. We were talking some baseball in our interview with Sal Interdonato, and Lane Smith says the Phillies will be making the World Series. And I was looking ahead to the schedule. Philip Pilkington producing today's show. ECU plays at Temple on November 1st.
Uh-oh.
Game 6 and 7 of the World Series would be October 31st and November 1st. So if the Mariners or anybody's at the Phillies in Game 6 or 7 of the World Series, I may be attending that game over ECU Temple.
Well, I'm going to go, not that anybody in Philly cares about Temple, but the two do share a parking lot.
They do.
Therefore, I'm going to go on a limb and say if
it's
Game
not going to be a
7
primetime game
is in Philadelphia, it'll be at like 8 o'clock at night, and the Pirates and the Owls will play at like noon. So I think you'll be attending Game 6. You will be waking up, attending the Pirates, and then attending Game 7. Watching your Mariners beat Lane Smith's Phillies. No, I'm just kidding. You're going to be watching my Red Sox beat Lane Smith's Phillies.
If the Red Sox are playing in the World Series at the Phillies,
somebody else is going to be working back here. I can tell you that right now.
You will need to be in Philly for the live pregame show, which will turn into a World Series Game 7 pregame show.
Yeah, it will.
And you need to be there, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that one I'm going to have to, Hank, if you're listening, I need some travel expenses paid for. This is work related. I'm going up there to cover an ECU game.
This is true.
I won't make you pay for the ticket to the World Series. I'll pay for that myself. I might have to take out a loan, but I'll do it. But I want everything else paid for.
So stay tuned for that. Maybe things will break the right way, and we'll get Phillies World Series as the Pirates take on the Temple Owls. All right. Somebody asked about rain. There is rain in the forecast, potentially. Corsair says, if it rains Thursday night, will that give Army an advantage? So right now, there is a 47% chance of rain, according to weather.com. Overcast with rain showers at times, low of 72 degrees. Certainly that would give Army the advantage. I think option team versus a spread team, I think if you're the option team, you would much rather have it rain. I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah, no, I agree. Also, for our pregame show, we don't want to be in the rain.
So where would we do it?
I don't know. So I asked David Horn last night about could we do it from the booth, and due to with it being a Thursday game, it would not really work. I would say we're going to do it from the studio, but I just got an email. A little breaking news here. Commissioner Tim Pernetti is going to be on our pregame show at 5:30. So we cannot do it from the studio. So we are going to cover the equipment and do it in the rain, I think. But it sounds like the rain chances are later in the day than earlier. So we'll have Dom lay on the equipment and sacrifice his body for the sake of the equipment.
That's all he does is sacrifice his body for the pregame show anyways, including carrying tents to and from the parking lot.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Dom. We'll keep that. Hopefully for ECU's sake, it does not rain because I think that would play right into Temple's hands. All right, Jackson Allsbrook says we need to grade the coordinators. He doesn't say we need to, but he asked if we will, and why not? How would we grade the coordinators through 4 games? He's given JDB a B- and Aldridge an A-. I think those are pretty spot on. I would honestly given the expectations of the offense, I'm going C+. I think we've seen flashes fill up, but it just has not been to what we expected. I think the biggest thing that's missing, man, is the explosive plays. Like, we just have not seen the explosive play rate that we saw last year when Caton took over and had this thing rolling. We really haven't seen it since Navy kind of put a stop to it in the finale. We didn't see it a ton in the bowl game until Rajay's big run. And they got to get back to hitting those explosive plays. That's what's hurting them right now, because they're actually sustaining some drives at times, but they're not hitting the explosives.
They're not attempting to hit the explosives, and I think that's why you would go into the C+ for JDB right now. It's just obviously there's going to be some people who are just like, oh my God, I'm giving him a terrible grade because of a couple bad plays. Again, a couple of these RPOs that have been passes that we've not been happy about, they're RPOs, I get it, but I'm not going to downgrade him just due to one play at State and one play against BYU. Overall, though, yeah, I'm going to go. It's so hard to grade him right now because the lack of explosives does make you want to kind of taper it down. But when you've won 56-3 and 38-0 in two of those games, it's almost like, is the jury still out? Like, yeah, you didn't try enough in the big two games, which I get, but also, like, two of those games were almost pushes for the coordinators by default. Like, they had one job, don't mess it up. The Jimmies and the Joes were so much better that we didn't have to try any X's and O's. So, yeah, C+, B-, something like that.
And Army kind of feels like a good middle ground between the defense you saw against BYU and State and then what you saw against Coastal.
That's what you're going to see for the next 8 games, roughly. I mean, it's about the average of what you're going to see for the next 8 games.
So we'll see, again, another barometer Thursday. Defensively, I think you got to go. I think A- is pretty spot on. I mean, you could even go A. Yeah. From what we saw in the preseason to now, like even Blake Harrell commented on it yesterday. The defense has been so much better than I thought, and so you have to, at minimum, I think, go B+. But I'm with Jackson. I go A-, just because there have been a few big plays given up, but otherwise has been really good.
He has called a phenomenal defense to his personnel. Like, he knew that C.J. Bailey was more athletic than any of our box guys, so we didn't come after him. We just tried to break into the pocket and then never really tried to sack him because we were trying to contain him. And then I feel like that we've been a little soft on our coverage, but he doesn't truthfully trust any of our corners to be just like true one-on-one, man-to-man guys. And he has not put a single player, I think, in position to fail on a single play. So therefore, I think it's got to be A- minimum. Yeah, it hasn't been like the sexiest, like they haven't been forcing ample amount of turnovers or anything, but I just don't think they have that kind of personnel. And I think Josh Aldridge has called a very mature 4 games as a defensive coordinator, especially for a guy who's known for being so aggressive. I think the opponents paired with the personnel have not allowed him to do that, and he realizes that. So I'm giving him an A.
Kenny Curlin says A- for Josh Aldridge, and Kenny Curlin also says C- for JDB. And Adam Harrison wants to know, is there any particular reason why the coordinators do not have press conferences? I mean, there's not. The only thing
we just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I was told was they want kind of one voice, from the coaching staff instead of getting a bunch of different voices. But I don't know. Like, I mean, as a reporter, obviously, I would rather talk to the coordinators. I love talking to Blake. I love Blake Harrell. But it's like, it's just good to have, from my perspective, different voices so you can get, like, I want to know, like, what, like, JDB's take on the RPO. And maybe they don't want that out there coming off the goal line. But that was a preseason decision made, and there's not really much we can do about it. So it's frustrating, but it is what it is.
It is, yeah. And like I said, like stuff like that, yeah, maybe they do want to keep quiet. But there's still things that's like, hey, this guy did X, Y, or Z on this play. Is that what the X's and O's told him to do, or did he make a bad read? You're not trying to throw a kid under the bus, but just little things that the coordinators have time to dissect all 11 hats on every single play that the head coach just doesn't have time to do.
Yeah. And, again, we love talking to Blake. It's just, one of those things. I think it's good to talk to the court. I love talking to Blake when he was the DC. I enjoy talking to Josh Aldridge. So maybe at some point we'll get that back. But right now it's not. Like BYU, they made their coordinators available to the media going to the ECU game. So it's just kind of a school-by-school basis, and there's no, hey, we have to make the coordinators available. It's more or less up to the coaches and the administration. So that is just how it is right now. All right, we got to get a break in. When we come back, we'll look around the American. And I looked around the American in my previous commercial break, and I wasn't too impressed with the slate, but we'll still touch on it a little bit. We'll also maybe hit on basketball practice starting this morning as well. This is Hoist the Colors on a Tuesday.
It's time to soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota. Summer is here with hot deals on a great selection of new Toyotas, like a Corolla, $189 a month, or Tacoma, $279 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
My hair is definitely a reflection of who I am. Wild, fun, fiery for sure.
It just goes with the flow.
Me and my hair, both untamable.
I wear it how I feel.
Feel fearless.
Feel empowered. Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Look fantastic.
Feel unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
The sun is out, and so are the deals at Greenville Toyota. Soak up the savings on a hot selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or RAV4, $289 a month. Soak up the savings at Greenville Toyota.
We're live with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Final segment here. We have comments in the chat we've gotten to throughout the show. Sal Interdonato from Army took a look at the Black Knights heading into Thursdays. It's a must-win game for Army. Feels like a must-win game for ECU. That usually creates a good matchup, even on a short week. We'll see how it turns out. All right, around the American, Philip Pilkington rejoins us. Pretty light slate this week, not going to lie. Army ECU looks like, honestly, yeah, looks like the best game Army ECU does. You also have South Alabama going to North Texas, which, by the way, did you see what Coastal did to South Alabama?
Yeah, it was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Coastal won on the road 38-20. So that was a surprising result. Now, I did do some research on that game. South Alabama outgained Coastal 420 to 294 and lost by 18. I think they had a punt block for a touchdown and some other stuff, but at least makes ECU's win look a little bit better.
Yeah,
but
tough
that
day to
should
be a Jaguar.
Yeah, and they almost beat Tulane a few weeks ago. So they go to North Texas. North Texas should be, quote, should be 5-0. And then they get a week off and they host South Florida on October 10th. So that could be a critical game looking ahead into our American crystal
Friday
ball.
night game, baby.
That is. I guess the best American games this year in many cases are going to be on Thursday and Friday, which I guess is good. I don't really know. It's
It'll
better
get more
than
eyes
being
on
like,
your product, though. Like,
yeah.
would you rather compete on Friday with nothing or be competing with Prime Video NFL only, and a lot of people still refuse to get it? Or would you rather be competing with, like, 14 other college football games in which Alabama's playing one, Georgia's playing one, Ohio State's playing in one?
Yeah, that's a fair point. If you're an ECU fan, like obviously I think any ECU fan would take a Saturday home game because of the tailgating, but does it do more for the program to play 3 straight Thursday night ESPN games versus like a Saturday game on ESPN Plus where nobody's watching?
10 years ago, before there was Thursday night NFL football every week, 100% it'd be better to be on Thursday. Now I feel like it's maybe 6 in one, half dozen in the other. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, like I know some people, especially like, and a lot of the people that I know would be from the South, older, which would be college football kind of country, right? That I remember when NASCAR went to Prime. They're like, am I getting Prime just to watch NASCAR? I'm already missing Thursday night football. It is what it is. So they'll just watch the college game. And, you know, where do you want to grow your brand? Well, in the prime heart of college football, which is the South.
I mean, it is kind of wild that ECU plays like Thursday primetime ESPN for 3 of the next 4 weeks. Like, if you're just a casual college football fan, on one of those Thursdays, you're going to turn on and be like, why is ECU why does
Why am
ECU
I getting
keep
ECU
playing
in Tulsa?
Like, ECU is like the Thursday night brand now for ESPN. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, we're still better than the
which
Tuesday and Wednesday night brand, which is Akron and Ohio.
True. I'd feel better about it if they didn't just have Rice Charlotte on Thursday night last week, but that was an all-time low. All right, other games in the American. Rice is at Navy, 3:30 on CBS Sports Network. This is kind of an intriguing game. I mean, I think Navy is going to win, and I think they'll win pretty comfortably, but option versus option, I mean, I'm not going to watch it, but I'll at least check the score. Are you intrigued by this at all?
Oh, the option versus option is fun to watch once a year when Army and Navy play. Yeah, I mean, the tough thing is how good is Rice? I don't think they're great.
No,
they only beat Charlotte. They
good.
are undefeated. No, they're 3-1. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, the next 2 games are going to mention intrigue me way more than this one. I'm not even going to sit here and try. I'm trying to sell it, but I'm doing a bad job. Don't hire me for an acting gig.
You're telling me that you are intrigued by Memphis FAU?
Here's the reason. We talked about it at the beginning of the season that FAU could be a dark horse team to just make a bowl, right? They bring in Caden Veltkamp, new coach. They've kind of revitalized this roster. Now they're at home against Memphis. I don't think they're going to win, but it's going to be one of those, if FAU keeps this one within 2 scores, you feel like moving forward, okay, FAU can at least be a middle of the conference team, maybe represent the conference in a bowl game, or if they lose by 40, you're going to say FAU's won 2 games all year. This is the FAU we all know and love. So I think there is a little intrigue. Just can they pull themselves out of the bottom of the conference? And I feel the same way about the Tulsa-Tulane game with Tulsa. Like, yeah, how do you respond after beating Oklahoma State? Yes, this is the worst Oklahoma State team since the Civil War probably, or the American Revolutionary War, but you still beat them in Stillwater. So now are you also pulling yourself out of the bottom of this conference, leaving UAB and Temple and those teams in the dust, or are you still, dog water like you've been?
And how does Tulane respond? I mean, Tulane got shellacked.
Throttled, yeah.
By Ole Miss. And in that game, Jake Retzloff went 5 of 17 for 56 yards.
I wish his successor
what is that?
at BYU would have the same stats.
They got absolutely clobbered by Ole Miss. So that'll be a bounce-back game potentially for Tulane. And I'm going to be honest. I know we're short on time here. This feels like a game Memphis might lose just because I feel like that's what Memphis does.
Yeah.
They probably won't, but it would not shock me.
I'm with you.
It just like Ryan Silverfield. Usually, when they start to get some hype, they will lay an egg.
So we'll
see what happens.
It was intriguing. You tried to say it wasn't. Now you were backdoor talking about an upset potentially.
Maybe we'll get Tim Pernetti's take on the most intriguing game of the week when he joins us for the pregame show on Thursday. All right, we're out of time. Philip, appreciate you as always, man.
Yeah, man, it was fun. Tomorrow we can talk about how Jackson Dart just got the job over Russell Wilson.
Oh my gosh!
Got announced.
What a terrible quarterback situation. How does Brian Daboll still have a job in New York with the Giants? All right, we're out of time. Final question from Corsair: does East Carolina make extra money by playing on ESPN or ESPN2? It does not, Corsair. The TV contract's the same all the way around. Appreciate all the comments, all the interaction. Appreciate Sal Introdonato from Black Knight Nation as well. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have Kevin Monroe on. Continue to break down Army ECU. Wednesday at 12 noon. We'll see you then.